look, Bitcoin's almost at $30,000. Well, joining us now to discuss further is president of crypto asset fund ProChain Capital, David Tawil. Welcome, David. How's casino? Is it fun this summer?
It's doing just fine, thank you.
All right, good to know. Good to know. A little Jersey Shore inside stuff there. Let's take a look at we have this Bitcoin ETF that was proposed by iShares. Now, you think that if it gets passed, the spot Bitcoin ETF gets passed, it will benefit Grayscale. Grayscale, for folks at home who might not know this, though you probably should, Grayscale owned by DCG, parent company of CoinDesk, who this happens to be on CoinDesk TV. So why do you think Grayscale will benefit? We saw a shrinking of their discount, but why do you think they'll benefit because of something that iShares will do?
It'll just be a quick knock-on effect. I mean, effectively, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, the GBTC, will go ahead and reach parity with the spot Bitcoin ETF, and the discount will absolutely collapse. It's narrowed a lot over the past couple of weeks since BlackRock filed its application. Larry Fink has made a couple of very important sound bites on television. And so we're now seeing a lot of momentum for the ETF, and it's been Grayscale's explicit mission to go ahead and convert the GBTC into an ETF as well.
Now, and you have an investment in Grayscale, the Grayscale GBTC, correct?
We do. We own some of it. We've been long it for a while on the theory that eventually that ETF push would be successful.
Okay, I got to ask you about MicroStrategy. Now, that's always a concept for me. It's a tough one. It's a tough sell to me because MicroStrategy was worth about $1 billion prior to its acquisition of Bitcoin. It's now down to the value solely of its Bitcoin, maybe a couple of bucks here and there. Why do you think this is worth it? 152,000 Bitcoin in their portfolio, $4.5 billion in value. This is a company that really, quite frankly, all they did was nothing related to crypto. Yet, and they had a valuation of $1 billion. Seems to have been eaten away, wiped out. Why is that? Why is it down to? Why are we discounting the value of the company itself? What does it say about what we think about management, et cetera?
So I think that our fund certainly owns spot Bitcoin as well. But I think MicroStrategy is actually a good investment at this point because, like you said, the market is valuing it simply for the ownership of its Bitcoin. Michael Saylor is a sharp fellow and certainly understands that a Bitcoin spot ETF will eventually come. And so therefore, if MicroStrategy's only business is just accumulating Bitcoin, it will necessarily no longer have a place in the market, or it will simply be a commodity amongst many other entities that have a much lower overhead and have no other costs and expenses. So he certainly there is thought in MicroStrategy's front office about what's to do next. And I believe that Saylor and company will come up with additional activity beyond just the Bitcoin holdings, purposes of increasing the value of the enterprise.
Emily.
Oh, sorry, we lost Jen for a second. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so here's just a question that, I know is kind of hard to answer, but why don't you just throw out a guess here? If these, spot Bitcoin ETFs, or if any of them actually goes through, how high do you think Bitcoin could actually go?
I've said, and I'll continue to say, I think we could get to 50,000 before the end of the year. And I know that's a lofty number, but frankly, it's just retracing.
Wait, sorry, just to clarify, do you mean if the spot ETF goes through, or just by the end of the year, even if it doesn't go through?
Even if it doesn't go through. And certainly if it does go through, I think there's considerable momentum. I think the way I see it at this point is that we've seen the series of unfortunate events fully unfold, right? The only remaining kind of event is really the full unraveling of Binance. But beyond that, we've seen everything else that could possibly go wrong in the sector go wrong. And now there is, first of all, I think we've, in terms of pricing, we've established a floor. Certainly 31,000, 32,000 seems to be an upper threshold that we need to break in order to go ahead and gap higher. I really believe there is more going on here with BlackRock than what meets the eye. And my reason for saying that, this is not a conspiracy type theory, but the adding of the CEO of Saudi Aramco to the board of BlackRock, to me, is very important. Not as it relates directly to Bitcoin, but in terms of what BlackRock is focused on and doing. The decision to go ahead and put forth the ETF application for Bitcoin and the add of the Saudi Aramco CEO to the board were not without massive deliberation and very explicit strategy, planning. And the ETF application was not just thrown out there in terms of jump on the bandwagon. There is going to be, and we've seen the rhetoric since the initial application by Larry Fink, that he believes cryptocurrency is transformational, revolutionary. I forget what words he used. And BlackRock, as the largest asset manager in the world, does not throw around words like that on a daily basis. And therefore, I believe there is going to be a lot of positive headlines coming, a lot of machinations that may leak out into the public in terms of what BlackRock is doing, in terms of what competitors are doing as well, in order to go ahead and kind of keep up. And so, between that and then, the kind of the ire that has been spoken about previously on the show with respect to what the SEC has done and the lawsuits and maybe successes that will come forward over the next couple of months. And between those two things, I believe that we have the opportunity to really move higher. And if we don't go into a recession in the U.S., I think that technology will be preferred. And one of those areas of technology is going to be Bitcoin.
So, before you talked about things going up in smoke, speaking of things going up in smoke and also getting higher, ProChain, your company has an investment in Griffin Digital Mining. It's getting acquired by Akerna, which is a cannabis company. Now, this is a weird deal. You got to explain this, because why a bunch of pot smokers need to buy crypto miners is beyond me. And I mean, that's great. I mean, were they buzzed when this happened? Why can they afford crypto miners? Why can they afford a crypto miner when the price of Bitcoin's back up to 30? You would think that there would be a higher bid on crypto miners in general from the market. What makes it affordable? Or did they just smoke through their inventory and said, let's pay everything we can?
So no, let me clarify. This really is just an acquisition by a shell company. Akerna was previously a technology company focused on the cannabis sector. They have sold those assets. So now it's just a shell of a company that essentially Griffin's going to go ahead and reverse merge into. So it's not going to be a crypto / marijuana company. It's going to be a crypto miner and a hydropowered backed crypto miner at that. And we invested in Griffin, a couple of years ago at a very I'd say favorable valuation. And I agree with you in terms of where the stock price is on Akerna. Obviously, there's no guarantee that this transaction goes through. There have been other, previously announced transactions in the mining space in terms of going public that have not gone through. But it seems that the IPO market now is, generally open. I wouldn't say incredibly robust, but certainly generally open. Couple that with the fact that the gains on miners this year have been outstanding, almost eye-popping. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't have the graphic in front of me, but hundreds of percents that miners have gained. Granted, they've been incredibly low at the end of last year, but certainly outpaced the gains on the cryptocurrencies and even Bitcoin over the course of this year. So yes, the valuation should be robust for Griffin's public debut. Obviously, since we're investors, we are hoping for a very robust debut.
Well, from hydroponics to hydroelectric. Thank you very much, David. That was ProChain Capital President David Tawil.